We love making custom signs, and I thought maybe you guys like to see the process of how we go about doing it. So I like these engraved signs, and I like making them custom for people. So I thought, well, I've got this big empty wall in my office, and I'd like to put maybe a 5-foot wide sign in there. And I always liked the idea of A-10s. I was active duty Air Force at Davis Mountain Air Force Base in the past, and this is our plane that flew out of that base, an A-10 Warthog. Love the look of that plane, and always wanted to have a sign that would have an A-10 silhouette in it. So we go to our faithful Inkscape and we change our document properties. I'm going to make a small test sign first. So I'm going to set my document size to be the size of that test sign, which is going to be 24 by 12, where the actual one I make might be 5 by 2.5 feet or something like that. So you change those sizes in the document properties, and now you've got the appropriate sized theoretic piece of wood. Now we've got to find the A-10 that we're going to put in there. So go to Google Images, make a search. I did Warthog black and white. Bunch of different images come up. Some of them really cool, but way too complex. So I wanted something a little simpler, and I found this one by DeviantArt. Thanks to them for the image. And so that's the one I chose. And I don't know if this is going to work for sure, but I'm going to give it a try. So I right-click on that, save image as to a place where I can find it again, which in my case is on my desktop. And now we're ready to bring it into Inkscape and put it on our document. So File, Import, and we can bring it in from where we left it. And this little box comes up. I usually click OK, it doesn't seem to matter. And now we have our JPEG file in our document. And we can resize it, and I like doing that to make it a little bit more appropriate for the size of the wood or the document that I've got on Inkscape. So hit Shift Control and drag, and it'll stay in proportion that way. Now remember, this is not a vector file. This is a JPEG, so we have to convert it to a vector file. So we want to trace the bitmap. So you bring up this document box, and there's single scans and multiple scans. It was at this point that I made a fairly significant mistake. I assumed that single scans and multiple scans were just variations on a theme and could be used interchangeably. I figured out my mistake once I went in to cut the vector on my shaper origin and found out that the vector file was very complex and not simple lines whatsoever. Luckily, I found Logos by Nick online, and he explained that single scans are typically used for what I'm trying to do, a black and white, relatively straightforward scan to create a fairly simple vector file, where multiple scans are used for color pictures where it's a little bit more complicated. So I went ahead and changed this and did a single scan, and that was the vector file that I ended up using. So as you see here, I selected the image, I went to single scan, brightness cutoff, hit update to look at it, and then apply. And now the vector image is on top of the original image. So we need to get rid of the JPEG file and just start working on the vector file. So we move one of them. And now you can see that there are two different A-10 planes there. Which one is the vector? So you hit the Edit Node tool in the top left and point at each of them. The one that turns red is the vector. The one that doesn't change at all is the picture. So now we can click to our Select tool, select the one that is the image or the JPEG file, and hit Delete and get rid of it. Now all we're left with is our vector file of our A-10, and this is something that can be cut by a CNC machine. So we want to make sure it's aligned inside our document or inside the piece of wood that we're going to use for our test. So we go to our alignment regarding the page, set it horizontally and vertically, and now we're pretty much set. That's what we want, that vector file in our document. So we can save it. So File, Save. You can name it whatever you want, and you can save it wherever you want. Now I already have it saved, so I don't have to actually go ahead and save it, but you can. So I'll click Cancel. And now we're ready to get on to the CNC machine. Our next step is going to be cutting that test sign, so tune in for that. If there's anything else we can do for you, let us know.